T and vocoders. Let's go. Vocoders. I love vocoders. I think you probably love vocoders as well. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be watching this or having to put up with me at the beginning of this video talking about how much we love vocoders. But I love vocoders. What are vocoders? Vocoders are old technology invented by initially the US Army to transmit information securely over distances, over radio distances, and at some point in the late 60s, maybe early 70s, Kraftwerk managed to get hold of one and hacked the modulating signal, the carrier signal, with a synthesizer, so that basically it could speak. You could get a robot to speak by making it sound like it's talking, by applying a load of bandpass filters to the output. And those bandpass filters have energy that's basically volume that's been tracked from the speech signal. So the speech signal has a load of bandpass filters, and those bandpass filters are passed to envelope followers, and each of those envelope followers' output is then passed to another load of bandpass filters that sits in front of the synth signal in our situation, in the way we use it in the future. And that means that the kind of timbral aspect, the kind of signature sound, the signature of the in this situation, the speech signal is applied to the synth signal, so you can make the synth sound like it's talking. That's a high level way of talking about what vocoders do without getting into too much detail. We'll have a look more here, because what I want to do is cover some traditional vocoding techniques, and then we'll look at the Orangevocoder, the new Orangevocoder, because that's where it's all happening, guys. That's the future. Or is it? Or is it? I don't know. I'm not entirely convinced yet. But let's look at some vocoders here. Look at the screen over there. It's interesting. So what have we got? We've got TAL Vocoder here. This is a free vocoder. It's version 3 now. He just did an update recently. I forget what he added. I think some advanced synth stuff. And maybe something over here as well. Signal compound, possibly. So, as you can see, there's two signals here. This is my speech, but that's me. And this one is a synthesizer. Oh, there's a vocoder there. So there's a synthesizer going into the carrier. Mod in. This is a modulator. Carrier in is the carrier signal, the thing that we're going to make sound like my speech. And that's what that does. Let me just turn the release down from the Jupiter, because that's going to get annoying. So this is a traditional vocoder. We can, this little bank of sliders here, we can change the volume of each of the different signals, each of the different bandpass filters, and change the sort of sonic characteristic of the filtered signal. That's, ignore the glitching. But that is, I mean, it's not, it's pretty good as a vocoder. It's pretty traditional vocoding. But all of this stuff will depend on the clarity of the input signal. So you need, I've got a ribbon mic here, so it's taken the top off. So I'm just turning, just because of how it listens, but so I'm turning a bit of treble up there, so you can hear, you can hear the sort of high end being transformed onto the synth noise, and the synth noise actually sounds like this. That's my synth noise. Let's turn it down. That's a synth noise, raw, unadulterated synth, and let's just undo that again. So that's that synth noise going into TAL Vocoder. It's pretty cool, does the job. We've got a compounder which is going to kind of push the dynamics of the input signal closer together and some a bit further apart. That's what compounders do. And we've got a couple of other things here. We've got the release knob. I kind of want to touch on this quickly, so it's kind of distracting because there's a little bit of delay in my voice, but I'll continue to talk at the rate I'm talking. So I'm going to turn the release up and kind of highlight what the release does by making some short staccato. And you can hear the sound is kind of hanging around. Oh dear, don't do too many knobs like that. That is That's the release knob. It's quite cool because you can change the way the sound is being kind of applied to the synthesizer sound. Okay, so this is a traditional synthesizer. We've got a harmonic slider here. I think what that does is it kind of it basically adds some kind of harmonics to the synth signal before it hits the vocoder layer. I suspect it's some kind of Chebyshev polynomials just being added just to richen the signal up a little bit. So that's this. This is cool. This is a good place to start. Good basic vocoder. What's next? I've got this vocoder. Now this is quite expensive, but it's a model of an old vocoder that Kraftwerk used to use. And when I do it, it sounds like an old Kraftwerk song. It's got some crazy vibes. So let's just turn it up a bit. Can we turn it up a bit? I'll turn it up a bit. Yeah, there we go. And I'm not using the Jupiter input here. It's just a bit of a pain to configure it. So this is the internal oscillator. There's one square waveform at the moment. We change it to a saw so it sounds a bit more like what the Jupiter is outputting, which is a load of saws. But this is nice. This is nice. Oh, it's glitchy. I think it must be the Voca, must be this guy. Let's just turn the voices down a bit to 4, maybe that'll help. I don't know, possibly not. But this is really creamy. I don't know if you can hear. It's got a different, it just sounds different to this. Let us turn the octave to the same octave. So that is, we could switch that to one oscillator. Let's put it poly, one oscillator. It's one oscillator. And then, so that's this free one, and here's the expensive one. It just sounds a bit more, I mean, it's not because it's expensive, it sounds clearer, but it's modelling an old vocoder and the way the bands are spread and the way the band pass filters are designed and the way the envelope followers are tracking. All of those things will affect how the vocoder delivers the output, basically, the clarity and other things. So we do have a similar sort of set of things here where we can slow down the release rate of all the kind of modulator envelopes, slow it down so it just hangs around for ages. Oh yeah, yes, so yes. We can also change the attack as well. I don't think there's no attack slider on the TAL vocoder, but you can change it on here, which is going to change the way the envelope followers are tracking the original signal, the source signal. Also, this one's quite cool. I do like this because we can say to the oscillator to track the voice's pitch, the input oscillator's pitch. So it's kind of, if this is an E, that's kind of the middle of it. So if look, it's a very similar note, and it's tracking me up there. This is the sound of uranium. I mean, it isn't, but that vocoder sound is luscious, isn't it? It's just old and delicious, creamy. It's a lovely, lovely vocoder sound. Oh, I just love it. So these are two examples of traditional analog vocoding techniques where we're just using a bandpass filters and, a source synthesizer. What have we next? If my slider's going to work, it should bring up Orangevocoder. So this is the old one from goodness knows when it was released, something like possibly 2005 or something crazy like that. I don't know. Maybe even sooner. I should have looked at the manual to be giving you actual facts here. But here we are, looking at the thing unprepared. So this is the sound of that. Let me just get into the good octave up there and reset some of these, because this is take 48. So this is a vocoder. This is a vocoder. So what I'll do, I'll set it to the analog emulation, and we have, I mean, that sounds like these other ones. That sounds like this one, right? It sounds like this guy. Let's just turn off the tracking there, so when I flick past, it sounds the same. Okay, and again, this, well, the bottom of this is all synth, so we just ignore all that because we don't care about that. All I care about is the vocoding algorithm and what it's doing, how it's breaking the signal and how it's breaking both parts of the signal and recombining them to make vocod. So what have we got? This is really basic. When I first got it, I was really unimpressed. Like, why the hell is this so expensive? And what do people? Why did they release it? And what is it that people are getting out of it? And then I realised it's a digital vocoder. It's not using traditional techniques. It's using crazy other DSP to do it. It says analog MU, but I don't think it's actually 12 or 24 or 20 odd whatever bandpass filters. It's some other stuff going on. And I only say that because I think if the models had any complexity to them, they would have exposed some of the parameters. So all we've got basically to go on is, for this particular version of the Orangevocoder, is whatever 8 different sound modes, they call them. Forget them, they're boring. And this thing here, which is they call it a feedback reverb. What do they call it? The Filterbank Reverb. It's a Filterbank Reverb, and it's quite cool. In fact, I really like it. Things like this I've discovered in the world of FFT. It's really cool. It hangs the signal around, ba 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 ba, really blurs it. We can bring it down here, and oh yeah, oh yes, synthesizer breaking the signal. Okay, and yeah, so these are the kind of only bits of the algorithm that are kind of exposed that we can muck around with, and it's quite cool because we can blur the signal crazily like that. This graphic EQ here is boring because it's basically post the vocoder. It's just an EQ that you might as well have in your, I mean, yeah, it doesn't even, it's just basically a graphic EQ that you might as well stick in your channel strip after a vocoder. I know why they put it in, because they need something, but it's pretty blimmin' boring. I think it should have been somehow, there should be some parameters exposed, or this could be within the engine itself rather than just a boring post EQ. Anyway, that's me complaining. Complaint number 1. And okay, so this is a digital vocoder. We've got a couple of analog emulations here. We've also got very cool DSP algorithms. Let's just turn down, and let's just turn down this, what was it called again? The Filterbank Reverb. Yes, there we go. So that's clearer. There's a massive delay in my head, but I'll try and talk around it. This, yes, you can hear. It's really clear. Isn't it clear? It's lovely and clear, and it goes really high as well, with a lot of clarity. Wow, 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 wow. Yeah. Okay, that's a very madrigal. So, yeah, that's kind of what this is. There's a load of cool algorithms that are very digital, really don't sound like analog technology at all, but they're pretty good. So look, it's maintaining the notes that I'm describing with my keyboard. I'm just changing. Ooh. Struggles with some parts of the range that I'm singing in, just because of the way the algorithm works inside. Who knows what that algorithm's doing? It's a mystery. Let's try another. I don't like colorize. It seems to be pretty good down here. It likes low frequencies, okay, but as soon as we go above like the middle C or something, it just turns into marsh, really non-distinct. Good for some sound design things, I guess, but yeah, it's just like really gritty and horrible. Don't like that. I used a colorize function in another FFT module I used called Spectrum Works, long since gone, but that colorize algorithm, probably completely different from a DSP perspective, but was much clearer. So we've got these third, second and first order functions here. Let me just remind myself what MR stands for, because crazy names for things. Let's have a look. It stands for multi-resolution filter bank. So it's doing something else, but it's not doing like traditional vocoder stuff, but it's actually nice and clear. This stuff, it works really nicely down. Yes, vocoder. And so third order is nice and clear, and second order is not as kind of clear in the top end. It sounds a bit, and then we've got the first order, which is kind of really roboty, and you can't distinguish A, E, O, U. It's ma 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 ba 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 ba. It's really non-distinct, so it's useful again for probably sound effects and stuff. And we've touched the analog MU stuff. So that's the old vocoder. It's quite. Again, I'm ignoring the synth section because I don't care about it. But yeah, so this stuff up here is just mixing. That's boring. Don't want to hear that. And graphic EQs post the vocoder algorithm, and there's like a built-in reverb as well. That who cares about that? Probably okay. Never use it. Okay, so that's that vocoder. What is the vocoder number 4 in the collection we have here? I believe it's the special one. The special new one. So what we're going to do is just do a little A/B. Let's listen to the third order algorithms between them both. So this is the third order. I mean, it's called the Gabor multi-resolution third order filter, and the same one here. They're very similar, aren't they? Very similar. Wow, wow. And obviously there's no other values to change, so we're just basically shoving two sounds through a similar kind of vocoding algorithm, multi-resolution third order vocoding algorithm. But I want to look at what this is missing, because I was disappointed. Let me just put it down there. I was very disappointed. And okay, what are we looking at? So what we can do, what we didn't have on the other one, let me just get in a slightly higher pitch. Could we do a 7th? Let's do a nice, ooh, I like a 7th. Let's do a major 7th. Oh, that's nice as well. Let's do that as well. A major 7th. Here we go, major 7th. So on here, on the new one, we can change the format and become a tiny little robot child, or the Iron Man with fists the size of hills crushing the landscape around him. But you can hear the format's very low format. And there we go, high format. That's me changing my voice. Let's keep it in the middle, because that's where we want to keep it. This doesn't have any format control. You can't change in the same way that I was talking about being able to move the format position around in traditional vocoders. You can't do it on here because they've got some crazy DSP that they hadn't, I guess, figured how to adjust the format, how to adjust the position of the tonal shape across the carrier output. So they just didn't include it. There's nothing like it in here. But in here, they've added again, like I say, the formant options. Formants, May -7th. But what we do have, so we've got, okay, they've added formants. We've got a formants button. They've also added an expand knob slider, and what that does is an expander traditionally is like the opposite of a compressor. A compressor wants to turn down signals above a certain threshold, and the act of doing that reduces the dynamic range of that signal. An expander, usually it's set up so that signals below the threshold are turned down a specified amount, you know, based on ratio or thresholds and that kind of thing. So what it's doing is making the signal a wider dynamic range, so making quiet bits even quieter and not really turning up louder bits. I mean, you can sort of hear if I just talk some gibberish, blah, 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 I'm not changing the level of my talking at all, blah, 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 blah. You can hear right now sort of fairly flat output, it's quite loud, and then if I start ba-ba-da-ba-da, ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da, it's the quiet bits are a bit quieter and the louder bits are just a tiny bit quieter. So it's not a turn downer, but depending on the signal, you might hear it doing far more with, say, a drum signal that's kind of busy and has got quiet bits and loud bits. But being a human, it's quite difficult to force myself to do quiet bits and loud bits. Oh, there you go. That sort of highlights it. The quiet bits are very much quieter. What an embarrassing example. Too late now. So out of the expander we go into that. So the expander's new. It's new. I don't know what. I can sort of see the point when it comes to sound design, maybe drums and that kind of thing, but struggling. I'm not going to say it's a bad addition, but I struggle. We're going to move on now to traces, and what this is oh look. Okay, set it to 0 in the middle. So this is a kind of tone knob, and this is the value knob. And what it does is, I'll show you, it's very much like this diffusion reverb thing from but it's, I mean, this is lovely. It's just kind of swirls the sound into like, I don't want to say infinity, but it's just like it turns everything into a cloud. Oh, yes, it's lovely. Oh, I want more notes. I want more notes on here. 4's not enough. Let's do 6. 6 notes. 6 notes. Ooh, wow, 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 wow. But that function is here. It's called traces, but it's one knob. And what does it sound like? Nothing really. It sort of does very little. I mean, I can hear it's doing something. It's blurring, slewing the decay of the signal a little bit, but the amount of control here is like nothing. All we can do is select the kind of range that is being held, basically, that's being traced. I don't know why they call it traces. Maybe that's something to do with ray tracing algorithms or something. I don't know. Although we haven't seen a technical manual yet. There's just been a quick starter, so we don't know. They haven't given us much detail about the knobs at all, really. But so yeah, you can hear this. It hangs around. It's kind of like that Filterbank Reverb. In this, but this additional function is we can pop, pop, pop. So this is kind of like a tone knob, basically. It is a tone knob. So with this one, we can, at this setting, it's just, killing the CPU is what it's doing. It's kind of more platey, whatever that means, but it's kind of lower there's not much high frequency content. And then on here, there's not much low frequency content. It's just all the high stuff. So there's that, and I just really, I want more when I got that. And we've got this EQ here that's post, there's actually a signal flow here, you can see it. It's a bit annoying because on here there's no signal flow. so you can't tell what order stuff's going in if you don't know what you're doing. But in here you can see the signal flow. Two things going into the vocoder, edit channel 1, channel 2, sidechain, modulator carrier, into the vocoder, out of the vocoder, into the expand function, out of the expand function into the traces, which we assume the expand function kind of does. It makes it more fun. Out of the expand into the traces, which blurs it a little bit, and out. So the whole signal's done by that point. By this point, the signal is done, and all we've got is a graphic EQ. I'm sorry for the Zynaptiq developers who might be hurt by my complaints. I'm just a user, just a regular user complaining. And we've got some other functions here. They could be useful if you're doing like sound designy stuff, I suppose. Okay, so what these do is basically just double the size of the kind of depth of your graphic EQ shape. I'm never going to use it. And the drive function here as well. I mean, it's kind of handy to saturate and bring together because vocoder signals can be dynamically busy. So it's good to have something that kind of saturates maybe and dampens the spikes a little bit, just makes them a bit sort of more steady, I suppose would be the best way to put it. And that's it. That's the vocoder. Apart from like mix and stuff, there's a freeze function. Do we care? It's kind of fun, I suppose. Apparently you can store these as well. I mean, yeah, that's fine. Great stuff. And there's some pitch quantization stuff as well that I haven't really looked at. I'll be honest with you, I haven't really looked at it. All I was caring about was the vocoder functions. So what I want to do very quickly as well is just have a listen to these. Let's see what we got. I mean, so this is a smooth model. It's very, I mean, it has a characteristics. It has a characteristic. It has a sound. But we listen to this and it's just slightly more interesting, high end. There's something going on there. Who knows what they're doing? That sounds more real, right? It sounds more like a human voice rather than sort of saw waves being modulated, which is nice. That's what we want. We kind of, I think a lot of the algorithms in the original one sounded very human, and that worked really well for backing vocals and kind of other textures that weren't clearly kind of digital, that weren't vocoded voices. So it's nice to have these kind of smooth sounds. So let's go through. Again, none of this, as far as I can make out, is anything like a traditional vocoder, like the other vocoders we looked at, like TAL or this Xils thing. The algorithms in this are DSP. They're complex other wavelet style transformations. I think one of them is a wavelet actually. But we've got an LPC, which is linear predictive coding, which was used in mobile networks ages ago. It's not anymore that I know of. But this is going to shred my CPU. But it's really very nice. We just go to 35. Does that the LPC crystal isn't breaking as much as the other algorithm? Oh, it kind of is now. Wow, that's clear, isn't it? You can hear the stuff on top of that. That's very nice. Okay, let's go to these third order multi-resolution filter bank thingery-dooberies. We can do an A/B because we've got that exact same thing on here. Let's just reduce all that stuff, and these are doing the same thing. Let's just make sure we don't have. We turn that all the way down, and we've got that all the way down, and probably that around 1-ish, let's say. Wow. Let's put it back on the third order again. Here we go. Very similar. Okay, let's sing at the same time as the vocoder. Okay, second order. As you can, this is a little bit, as you can hear already, the detail's gone down a bit, and it sounds like I've got a bit of paper in my mouth or something. And this one just sounds like I've stopped bothering to shape any shapes at all with my mouth, any vowels or consonants, all out the window. It's just a kind of, innit? This is, I mean, it says version 3 Zynaptified. Oh, maybe it's from so it's an improved version of the version 3 vocoder. So let's have a look at that. Let's just select that and then go back here and select this, because that's what that is. That's what that is. That's what that is. And that's what that is. Obviously, this one, the new one, sounds, there's definitely more high frequency content. Yeah, just a bit clearer, isn't it? A bit clearer. Let's look at, so that's the same one from the version 1 of the Orangevocoder. But what about this one? This is analog model linear phase. So linear phase means that so when you oh god, I won't dwell too long on this, but linear phase basically means a special kind of filter type that doesn't cause phase issues, which I'm not sure why you would do that with this, because you're chopping the signal. I mean, I'm sure they've got their reasons. They've probably got their reasons. I'm not going to question their DSP methods. But linear phase ultimately means that you're not introducing phase artifacts into the signal at any point by using a different kind of filter type. Excuse me. A minimum phase, again, is a similar kind of thing, but it would be less complete linear and maybe a mix between the two. Traditionally, EQs and filters and stuff aren't kind of phase compensated. They don't tend to be linear phase. You only tend to find linear phase EQs and stuff maybe in EQs designed for a mastering chain where you want really clean EQ changes without affecting the other aspects of the signal, like the phase, especially when you have really complex full band signals, orchestras and things like that. So they're those two. I mean, what do they sound like? They sound, well, linear phase is all right. That's quite nice, isn't it? That's all right. I can work with that. Yeah. It seems to go up the scale as well. It goes quite high. Yes. And we have another one here. Oh no, hold on. That's just the same. It's just, here's minimum phase. Here's the minimum phase. One sound. The differences are minimal. What have we got here? A wavelet cross-melt, they call it. Now, like I said, I didn't say in this one. Wavelets were used in one of Prosoniq's. This is a Prosoniq piece of technology, as you should know, that Zynaptiq purchased a few years ago when Prosoniq sold all their IP. And they had a plugin called Magenta that I bought in 2007 or 8 or something, and it was amazing. It was a wavelet transformation, a wavelet vocoder, basically. I could, it was a really great vocal manipulator. Mad tool. I don't think they released it for Mac, so I didn't get it, and I moved to Mac a few years after that. So, but wavelets are a cool thing. Wavelets are pretty cool. They're not like FFT. It's a different kind of deconstruction of the sound. And they do interesting vocoding style things. So let's and this glitchy one is interesting because, I mean, very clearly there's like bit reduction style breaking of the sound. That is, I mean, you can hear it as well as I can. It's kind of interesting. So that's something to be used. I'm sure it probably sounds good on drums, but we're only doing vocals and synthesizer today. But yeah, these two wavelet functions could be quite cool. I just wish there were more parameters exposed. Why can't we muck around with them a bit more? I can't believe the algorithms are so simple that there are no factors that we can affect beyond, you know, outside the purity of the algorithm they've selected. We've got this other colorized one as well, and remember me saying, I can't remember if I said, we have it on here as well, but it's really not that great. I struggle to use it, although it doesn't sound too bad. Up here, it struggles, just goes horrible, 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 horrible. Where do the notes stop? We can... oh, already there. There, gone, gone, gone. We were an octave below already. Just keeps wrapping around. It's weird. But how does it behave in here? Let's have a listen. Oh, let's make sure it's the right thing. Colorize. Oh, that works a bit better. It's got a bit of a higher range. Ba 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 ba. Yeah 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 yeah. Very nice. That kind of works usefully. Not sure what these are, but they. Oh, I can still hear the pitch of my voice is very audible there, so I don't know if I can change the formants of that raw signal. I don't know where the synth has gone. I don't know where the synth has gone. Is it here? Oh, I could almost hear something. There's a synth there trying to pitch my voice. What if I go up here? Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Isn't it interesting? Let's just reset that again. I mean, why? I should be able to pitch that. I don't understand why it's really not doing much at all. Maybe the technical manual will reveal why. And here we have this online ICA. I don't know what that stands for. Butter. That sounds okay. It's all right, isn't it? Sounds all right. And I don't understand where zero latency comes in, because this is running in Plogue Bejewel, my modular environment of choice, and it will normally report latency. If a plugin is reporting latency, it will have a little pin on it that we can inquire. And let me just see, we can look at the value of latency on Orangevocoder, and it is 1024, which is kind of expect. It's like a standard 11 milliseconds or something at 44. Is it 7 or 11 milliseconds? I think it's 7 milliseconds, which is enough time to process a bit of sound, well, bring a bit of sound into a buffer, analyze it, chuck it out with all the required mathematical analyses onto the next stage within the device itself. So that's reporting latency. Orangevocoder sidechain isn't reporting a latency. This is a MIDI out. So I don't know how to exploit these zero latency functions. That's nice though. That's tight, and that's smooth. Maybe if we go smooth, we can completely... I mean, it's still not... Oh, it sounds alright. Oh, it sounds alright. Doesn't it? It sounds okay. I don't know. I'm just disappointed that I don't have as many things to play with within the algorithm. That's what's most disappointing to me. Okay. I think I covered everything here. That was it. We don't want the cancel algorithm because I don't know what that's not an algorithm. It's cancel. So, there's one other thing. We've gone way over interesting length of videos, but that's too late now. Here we are, right at the end of the video. And I'm just going to do one more. And this, I've been doing FFT vocoding for many, many years. I like the sound of FFT vocoding. It's smooth and clear. And I mean, we can listen to that and it sounds like some of the techniques that the Orangevocoder were using. But it isn't. Basically, it's not doing FFT, it's doing other crazy things. But we can just sort of compare them side by side. So maybe one of these sounds more FFT, maybe it's a third order one, but not even that really. No, let's pull that back. Ba 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 ba. What sound? Ay-oh, 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 ay-oh. They're very similar, but this one's doing funny things with the harmonics I'm creating. Ay, 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 ay. It's doing some forgive me, I like making funny noises, but yeah, so this is FFT vocoding, and all I'm doing is feeding it in with like a super saw thingy from Zebra. But that, I've done this for years and I like the sound of these vocoders as well, but I also enjoy analog vocoders. Okay, thank you. This is everything done now. Hope you registered my complaints about this. I'll probably email them or something. But I just want more things. I'm like more knobs, more sliders, advanced mode. We want to be able to mess with this stuff like more. Anyway, this is it. Thanks for getting to the end of here. And yeah, I mean, if you've bought it already, have fun with it. And yeah, I don't know, put your thoughts in the stuff down in the chat or whatever. But thanks. Have a good day. Enjoy vocoding.